Hello and welcome everyone to the Roundtable with, as always, me, Dred, and we have Luke.
Hey everybody, good to be back.
We should have Ghost, but for some reason we're having some technical difficulties. He's not here at the moment. He will probably turn up at some point, I imagine, on the call. But more importantly, we have a very special guest here. We have the Chief Business Development Officer at UniZen, Mr. James Taylor. So hello, sir.
Hey guys, pleasure to be here on a hot Tuesday afternoon in London. So yeah.
Oh my God, how hot is it at the moment? It's ridiculous.
It's baking, yeah. And obviously in London you tend not to have any aircon. Well, I don't have any in my house anyway. In the little room I've been given to work from. So, anyways, yeah.
My mum always says that it's like 30 degrees in England is like 50 degrees anywhere else. Like it's that sweaty humidity heat that you just don't get anywhere else. It's horrible. I mean, I'm literally camping at the moment, so I'm a bit of back behind the scenes. I'm in a car in the middle of a field doing this as a professional, and I'm roasting. I'm so goddamn hot right now. So
if you want,
I
can get into my car on the drive, and it's been sitting there heating up all afternoon, so I can jump in solidarity if you need. So
I would appreciate that. I'm also in just shorts and nothing else. So if you could do that as well, I'd appreciate that as well.
Absolutely, yeah, no problem at all.
So yeah, I guess what I wanted to talk to you about, I know we're here for crypto, but what I really wanted to talk to you about was, as an Englishman, and I'm guessing a football fan. Football's not coming home.
No.
England did not win the Euros. We lost the penalties against Italy. Have you recovered? You feeling all right? Have you got all your tears out?
I did a lot of screaming at the TV. And I don't. My own personal view, for what it's worth, and you may want to edit this out, so I'm not sure, but I actually blame the manager. I think that that game he got wrong. He's got a lot right on the build up to this, obviously, and which is testament to the fact that the guys got in the final in the first place. But it was just frustrating sitting there watching, first half that England, dominated. Italy made some changes, obviously had a good pep talk, came out and it changed, but England manager just sat there, waited until the 70th minute, which seems to be his own personal, kind of curfew on when he can bring someone on, and then finally, it was a little bit too little, too late, and I don't need to talk about the last two substitutions, right at the end. That was awful. But anyway, that's my personal opinion. But I'm a Southampton fan, so used to not winning much. So it's kind of it's part of the course, really. But yeah, it was disappointing. But I think it was a good tournament. A few little incidents with fans, which obviously has been sorted out now. But it was a good tournament overall, I thought. Yeah, Italy deserved to win.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm a Tottenham fan, so I'm used to disappointment as well. We're used to getting far and then dropping the ball at the end. So the reason we're here is, we should talk about UniZen, I guess, rather than football. But so tell us a little bit about your background, James. Tell us a little bit about your whole background, how you got into this industry. Tell us your favorite cereal growing up, what cartoons you liked. I mean, you don't have to answer that, but just get into it.
So I'm an electronic engineer by training and education. I didn't come into finance for traditional routes. I was a Unix sysadmin. I worked for Sun Microsystems, just by chance, a company, a bank, investment bank, who are no longer around. They've sort of merged into Citibank, called Salomon Brothers. They bought a kind of enterprise grade server. I would say they bought. I think that the head traders on the desk bought it out of their own money because they wanted to be sort of the forefront of some of the trading that was going on. So there's a Sun 64 processor, big huge thing there to go lift into the building that's just above. It was above Victoria Station, and with that came an engineer. Well, it was me. So that was. I knew nothing about banking. I was much more technical. very little about finance, to be honest with you. I mean, I understood what a mortgage was and basic stuff, but yeah, and that was it. And went into a world. If anyone has ever read, Liar's Poker, it's about Salomon Brothers and some of the stuff that was going on then. A bit like the Wild West before the regulators came in, which also we can talk about later. And yeah, you saw things that you kind of see on Wolf of Wall Street or the movies, people getting measured up for a suit, standing, trading, people throwing their handset into a monitor, because back then it was obviously, the CRT type TV screens, and smashing them and then getting them, it was incredible times. And yeah, when I was interested in the technical side, they started doing some like early days of, I guess, electronic trading. Had a modem connection into the stock exchange and stuff like that. Yeah, and did that for a while, which was good fun. So I was working in equities. Then yeah, I got a call from a headhunter and said to me, "Oh, look, there's these guys at Barclays and they're doing a online trading, click and trade. You can trade up to $5 million dollars at a time in FX, spot trading." And that really interested me. So yeah, I moved across there. And yeah, from that point on, I was involved in electronic trading for like OTC products. Was there for about 6 years in the US, for about 2 years of that. My eldest daughter was actually born in New York as well. She's got a US passport. And then yeah, from there moved to Deutsche Bank, a few more years there, then to JP Morgan for about 8 years, which was great, in a variety of different roles. Last but not least, Bank in New York, Mellon, the world's largest custodian, in another slightly different role, and yeah, now UniZen. So yeah, that it's been quite a journey. I've got a few grey hairs I've picked up along the way. In terms of cartoons, I was trying to think actually. Favorite cartoon? I used to like, it was it the one called Ulysses or something like that? It used to be on. And I think when I was a bit younger, Dogtanian, Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah, Dungeons and Dragons. Do you remember that one? That was quite good.
You're showing your age now, James.
Exactly. And cereal, I don't know actually. Probably Cocoa Pops. But simple chocolatey. No.
You're doing the advert.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
You very much stumbled. You very much stumbled into the industry, then, right?
Yeah. I mean, I got interested in crypto when I guess most people did in 2017. Was doing amazingly. I thought I was the world's best trader, and obviously it's fine when things go in one direction. Anyone can make money. And then got myself a little bit burnt. Then kind of sat on the side, but yeah, it kind of piqued my interest in the technology more than anything. And then my brother-in-law was he was just looking at some investments, and I think he did quite well on one of the projects, and then he mentioned to me, UniZen, you should look at this. He had a little bit of my cash still from a failed investment I had that had gone from something to nothing, and yeah, then dug a bit deeper, looked at the project. I was lucky enough to get on some calls with the team, which is another part of the appeal for moving to UniZen. The team were available and communicative and what have you, and kind of as I learned a bit more about it, I was kind of like, oh wow, actually this is kind of exciting. And
so was it just from a passion? Because the thing that stands out to me, and I know other people as well who look at your CV, we have Merrill Lynch, Salomon Brothers, Barclays, Deutsche Bank, JP Morgan, BNY Mellon, and then UniZen. So UniZen obviously stands out, right? So it must have been a big choice to have left Bank of New York Mellon to go to UniZen. And I mean, if it's around like passion, you must have really seen something, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's two things. So what's not obvious from my CV is that when I've moved, apart from Right, even at Salomon Brothers, when I was doing, the beginnings of what became program trading, electronic trading, I moved to Barclays, and it was like a startup. We're doing something no one had done before. I moved to Deutsche Bank, and we had to kind of reinvent our offering to cater to hedge funds and to the pension funds and real money clients. It was very much a bank offering, and they needed to broaden the appeal and the functionality. JP Morgan, it's number one in so many different things, but back then I think in FX they were ranked probably 7th or 8th, and there was a lot of work to do, and it was a lot of things once again building from scratch. So at BNY similar, they lost their way, and so for me, I've always liked kind of going on to try and build something. Once it's built, not that I get kind of totally bored, but it loses a little bit of the challenge for me. I want to be doing something where it's exciting, it's changing, and obviously there's potential for success. So when I saw this project, and I didn't think initially that there'd be anything there. I thought I'd be an investor, and I was interested in it, and on its own merits, it would do well. And then then the guys came to me and said, would you be interested in making it a bit more formal and becoming an advisor? And I was like, this is great. I get to keep my 9-to-5 job, and do some advisory work. But unfortunately, or fortunately, I guess if you look at it that way, the bank's policies generally don't let you do that kind of thing. There's some kind of a conflict of interest. And the example I give is, even if it was Dred's coffee shop, I could be an advisor for Dred's coffee shop, but if I got
you can if you want.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you need me to. But even even if I got just a coffee from you once in a while, it's an incentive, and therefore it would look like a conflict of interest of some sort. So they were very strict. So I went back and said to the guys, look, thanks, but no thanks. It's a shame, because it would have been good. And then they sort of ran around and said, hold right there. And they came back, and we discussed some more, and it happened very, very quickly. But no, I think that the main thing is that A, it's exciting opportunity, and B, it's exactly what I love doing. So it was a perfect combo. And I checked with the boss indoors, and she said, look, you seem the most excited I've seen you for 8 or 9 years. So why don't you go for it? So that's kind of it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you want to just kind of tell us a little bit about what you are actually doing at UniZen?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm I think it's now my 6th week. So very early days. I said to you, I had an interest in kind of the crypto space and blockchain and projects, but I'm a newbie, I guess is probably the terminology that's used. So hell of a lot of learning. So talking. I mean, Ghost isn't on. I've had chats with Ghost and a couple of you guys, and obviously the team. But trying to learn some of the fundamentals, and people pointing me in the right direction. But that's all very well. I think the best way to learn is on the job. One area I have spent a hell of a lot of time on is the regulatory piece. So, given my background and dealings with central banks and regulators in the past, it makes sense that I kind of get involved in that and get up, and also as a part of that, you have to submit docs to some of the legal teams and to the regulators to explain, for example, what DMAS is. And having to get that down into writing in a language they understand means you need to understand it yourself. So so I mean that's been a fair chunk of my time. Also been talking to some of the partner firms and connecting with them, Quant and Alliance Block, and learning what they do and how things like CedarFi Alliance and stuff may move forward, which I'm sure we can talk about a bit later. I've also listened in a couple of the, I guess, vetting calls for new projects coming in, which is super, super exciting because it's something I've never done before. I've even brought one to the table. I'm not sure, whether it's a go or we're still speaking to them, but just finding that from my network, someone who has a project and wants to get it going. I just think it's the ability to have conversations with potential clients or potential partners is obviously what I need to be doing more of going forward. So yeah, that's kind of how I've been, without being too specific, but yeah, that's what I've been doing.
Yeah,
Do you
awesome.
yeah, go on, go.
I was just gonna say, I mean, I cannot imagine having to do like a crash course in crypto. I mean, I've been in crypto for years, and like we get the basics and the understandings, but DeFi is like a whole nother level above. Like where did the yields come from? Like smart contracts. And then you got all these like automated market makers and automated yield hunting. All those protocols that find like the best yields and stuff like that. It's really just like a rabbit hole where you can just continuously just like find out new information every day. So it would just be so hard to keep on top of everything. I think anyway.
No, 100%, and not to be too much of a pitching UniZen, but that was my experience. When I played around and looked to try and interesting. Oh, that looks like an interesting token. How do I get there? Oh, you need to go to this website. You need to connect your wallet. You need to then bridge to a different chain, and then you need to pay gas fees. And it's just like it's really not user friendly. It's really not user friendly at all. And obviously because there's a lot of smart, technically minded people involved. But yeah, that's my belief is to really get the mass appeal. I mean, look, some people have done it. You got obviously examples of some of the bigger exchanges out there that have done well. But yeah, there's space, I think, for someone who does things the right way always. Is my view. But yeah, I mean, and also I shouldn't probably say this, but I would say that the breadth of finance that I'm now looking at is far greater than when I was inside the bank. Because inside the bank, you're very narrow and specialized. And now, to your point, I'm looking at yields and farming and all these different flash loans and everything, smart contract and all these kind of things that just aren't possible in traditional finance, but they use the same kind of theories
basic,
and basic
basic concepts. Yeah, absolutely.
It's a whole new world.
Yeah. So from your point of view, you're kind of brought into almost bridge the two worlds, the legacy, regulation side of things and this whole new crazy innovation. What do you see being, the key problems moving forward for regulation on the regulation side of things in crypto? Do you see it more on the fiat on ramps with, KYC and AML laws, or is it more, all these dexes and people trading assets between each other on a decentralized exchange? Like, where do you see like the number one problem right now for the regulatory landscape for crypto?
I think the number one problem is it's a problem, but it's kind of a worthwhile one in that the regulators are concerned about the small guy. That they or girl, they're concerned about the pensioner who's got £20,000 in blue chip shares, and then she looks online and sees a crypto exchange and puts it into gets hyped or sucked in by a scam and then loses all her cash. And, it's those are all the headlines that you see, right? And that's what the regulators, their job is to protect people that don't have the knowledge or don't understand. And it's an unfortunate thing that what in doing protection just means shutting the whole thing down a lot of the time. So I think that the biggest risk is going to be kind of the time it will take before the barriers come down. Which has been the case throughout history with any new technology or asset class that kind of comes down the line. So But yeah, I mean, in an ideal world, everyone's a big boy or big girl, and they can, if you get sucked in, then it's your fault, and so on. But as we know, unfortunately, there are people that are gullible or less savvy, and or there are platforms, as you've seen recently, that get hacked or have some kind of an issue. So I think one of the things, and this was brought up on a podcast I listened to a couple of weeks back. The community also owes itself, rather than rushing out and pushing projects out there or new releases, it has to be like really, really well tested. And there's an obligation to protect the future users or the users of your technology and your platform, regardless of whether it's a mobile phone or it's a tokenized payment system or something. So so that's some of the things there. Equally, you've got AML and sort of money laundering. No one, even in regular finance, the biggest fines out there is when you don't have appropriate anti-money laundering controls and so on. And you can do a quick Google search and look at a whole list of big names. Some of them I've worked for in the past who have dropped the ball or haven't reported suspicious activity and so on. And that's obviously a huge focus. And yeah, DeFi. If exactly what you said, Luke. Like I looked at the rates. I'm like, hold on, how can you be getting a 10% interest rate or APY on this? Doesn't make sense. Like all I can get on my high street bank is 0.05 or something at the moment. How the hell can I get that? It must be something dodgy behind it. And then, as you say, someone explains it to you, like, okay. But then you're like, but what are the risks? There must be risk, because there's always risk reward and so on. But yeah, I think that it's going to take a bit of time. But yeah, eventually we'll get there. The stuff that I'm seeing, whether it's the projects that come through the door in ZenX Labs or stuff I read about online, it's just so exciting, so phenomenal, and yeah, just the reason I'm happy to be in this industry, and to try and convince some of these guys and educate some of these guys of what the real potential is. And it's not everyone's not out to scam you. There are actually a hell of a lot. Probably the bulk of projects out there are genuine now. I mean, I know I missed the 2017 ICO stuff, which I understand. It was some shady things going on. So
a nightmare, James.
Really? Okay.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
essentially anything with a website, a new website or a logo was essentially the hot new thing. It didn't matter if it had real technology. It didn't matter if it was compliant. It was it was the Wild West. It was. I mean, the reality is we're still kind of in the Wild West. I mean, you saying, Margaret goes and puts £20,000 into crypto and gets scammed or loses her money or whatever. That's a reality. That's absolutely a reality. Yeah. Like that, we can't hide from that, and that's why, there's no hiding. I'm a big fan of UniZen, and the reason I like UniZen is because they're coming at it from a complete compliant perspective, which is needed. It's 100% needed. So like, there's so many pitfalls. There's so many places that people can lose their money in crypto, and that's a reality at the moment. But to see projects like UniZen that are pushing things in the right direction and saying, no, wait, we're going to deal with compliance. We're going to make sure that you don't fall into these pitfalls. That's the reason why I like UniZen. That's the reason why I've always spoke so highly of it. I get so many people coming to me, whether it's friends, whether it's family, speaking, crypto. We want to get into crypto, and like you said, they need a crash course in crypto. And at the end of the day, there's so much information. It's just there's too much.
Too much.
The place that they want to go to is a place where they know it's compliant, it's easy to buy, they can get 10-20% yield on their savings, whatever. Is UniZen that place? Is UniZen, from a compliant perspective, can they open up that door from what you're seeing behind the scenes, I guess? And I guess to tie in with that, you're coming at the crypto industry with a completely unique perspective in terms of, your background with banking and, working at JP Morgan, BNY, etc. How are those guys looking at crypto at the moment? Because we read headlines, but you've kind of got a different perspective, right? And I assume different contacts. So how are those guys also seeing the industry as well?
Well, first of all, UniZen, the ambition is to be, the trusted marketplace where you can, get whatever you need in crypto, and whether it's a vetted and, with full due diligence project, so a project that you would hope has, good chance of success, through to, some of the latest things that we're looking at, which is the staking elements and so on. So yeah, I think it's and at least the reason I'm on board is to build out the community and the people that take part in it. The concept of a DAO, when that's rolled out and people can vote, the community can actually vote on the direction of the platform. Now, this is all super cool stuff. And I believe in that. If you look at the most successful projects out there, in technology these days, inside and outside of blockchain, they tend to be open sourced and driven by an active community. If you lose a community, then you die. So I think UniZen, community for us is number one, and participation. And obviously one of the reasons I'm talking to you is to try and get the message out to people. People are welcome to ping me on whatever social channels and ask me questions. I had someone the other day who didn't understand the difference between Goldman Sachs, the asset manager, saying that crypto isn't an asset class that we're looking at, and yet they didn't understand it. Yeah, but they're doing crypto futures. Yeah, but that's a different area of the bank. So that there's an understanding of that world. I'm more than happy to help push people towards, and believe me, I will be on to you guys, you experts out there, for help when I need it as well. But yeah, what's the second question was? What does the traditional finance think of crypto?
I guess from your perspective, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends. I've mentioned Goldman and Bank of America now recently as well. They're looking to offer trading, OTC trading for clients, and futures as well. Just ability to transact and speculate. The traditional custodians, so my former employer and a bunch of others, that is a piece that they might offer, but I think they're really looking to act as a, I don't know, kind of a wallet, a custodian, a chaperone, who makes it easier to transfer or convert other assets as well. Plus I think there's just some really some areas of legacy banking that are just slow and just ancient, and putting stuff onto blockchain, just securities, stuff like private investments or illiquid unregulated securities, just the ability to push them onto a chain and and issue them, and all that kind of stuff, in the same way that I think when people have looked on and seen how crypto firms are fundraising, it's just much more efficient, quicker, cheaper than traditional methods. So I think there's a whole host of different places that people are looking at, and that some banks are more advanced than others. Obviously there are hedge funds who are active, and crypto only funds. It's probably 20 or 30 like big crypto only funds out there. But when it comes down to, so I think that the technology is something that the banks and the traditional finance look on at and are very excited by. The crypto side of it, I think, is the trading of coins is just viewed as a another kind of speculative instrument, which has its place alongside some of the other less liquid kind of assets out there, and some of the commodities and illiquid bonds and so on.
James, hey, Ghost of St. Miklos here.
Hey,
Sorry about that. I didn't mean to be late, but here I am.
No
you're
worries.
here, though. You're here.
So it's really nice to hear your perspective again, coming from traditional finance into decentralized finance and cryptographic assets. And yeah, I think we all agree that the potential for these, like instead of running on Fortran-enabled mainframe computers from the 1970s, we actually have like cloud-based computation and frankly hardware agnostic, the running of software and the ownership of assets. Like it's a really powerful position to be in. I just wanted to briefly kind of touch upon a recent white paper that was released by Gary B. Gordon and Jeffrey Y. Gorton, sorry, from Yale, and Zhang from the Federal Reserve. It's really seeded a whole bunch of new discussions about stable coins and where they fit in regulatory regimes, and how the Federal Reserve should address this in a means of providing both a function of future growth and also for stability. And if you read this so far, are you aware of it?
I have not, but my uneducated opinion is that there's a big divide. So I don't know what side this paper is on, but there's people coming out, senior people within the Fed, people outside of the Fed, and there's some debate. So, what did this paper say?
So in essence, it's basically making the claim that the United States has been through what's called a free banking regime before. Yeah, the free banking era. And that this was when states and associated state banks could, based on state bonds instead of national bonds, issue their own instruments of redeemable notes for specie, which is like gold or silver. And this was called by the National Bank Act of 1863. And they're claiming that the injection of this uniform currency, by which and they kind of added another layer to what like money really is, right? It's not just a unit of account, a store of value, or a medium of exchange. They also add this like fourth notion, which is something called NQA, which is like I think it's like non-questionable, no questions asked principle. It's like basically like is a dollar, or is like this note which you're redeeming for specie, is that trading one for one with the current market price? And they claim that like non-national currencies and unregulated stable coins will have difficulty achieving this, and so that it would be best in the interest of the United States and everyone else participating in the markets for the Federal Reserve to adopt a more proactive regime rather than a more laissez-faire approach as we've had so far. But it's really interesting, and I've seen so much like fantastic discussion on Twitter from many different people. I want to point out one in particular, just because he doesn't get any attention. Like I see only like a couple retweets here and there. Give me a moment. Yeah, George Selgin. He's excellent, and that's at George Selgin at Twitter. I've retweeted.
How'd you spell that? SEL.
GIN. SELGIN.
Okay.
Great thinker. I think he's under-recognized, and check him out on Twitter if you can.
I'm adding him in now. Yeah, I mean the thing is, I think that the world has changed a lot since the time you mentioned, and there's a lot of people out there that don't trust governments and don't trust government bodies. So when you lose the trust and you don't believe a dollar is a dollar or a pound is a pound, or that it might not be worth that in a year's time, that's the issue, I think. So yeah.
So it's like almost like an existential trust crisis.
I think, yeah, I mean, we could get really deep and philosophical here, but it's big part is trust, and then the other obviously huge big part is the drive for autonomy and speed. So those are the if the Fed was able to launch a stable coin that had all the utility that would be required, that's great. But
so a CBDC.
I guess so. But I just in the same way, it's a really basic example, and it's probably not using blockchain, but people buy gift cards, people use their coffee shops,
reward points,
reward points, and all these kind of things that exist already, like a tokenized version that has some value. But yeah, it's getting the speed and the trust element is what's been added in now that was never there before. And yeah, that's when you start getting cool things like micro insurance and flash loans, flash swaps, and a whole new area. I'm looking at finance, but outside of that, there's tons and tons I'm definitely not aware of. So
definitely, when the trust factor has broken down with, or even just the utility of the asset that's being provided by an official entity, that's when we have regimes such as like the Eurodollar emerge, where like you can provide instant liquidity, and you have basically money creation happening outside the legally defined bounds of, say, the Federal Reserve and the U.S. Treasury, and that's where like both great opportunities come, and also asset bubbles and great booms and busts. So it's just like it's just so interesting. Like I was saying, this paper is opening up a whole topic of discussion. I just wanted to broach it briefly. Thank you, James.
No, it's fine. And one thing I would say, and it's been the same throughout my career. Yeah, new technologies come along, and it can make things more efficient, and it can open things up to more markets. But it won't. The liquidity occurs outside of the technology, so it has to be there to tap into. You can't just generate liquidity because you've invented a new trading protocol.
The willingness to buy and sell.
The willingness, yeah. And one of some of the things I'm most excited about again is the I guess the egalitarian approach of lots of the projects. Giving people access to financial products that previously would never be open to an individual. Whether that's some kind of a tokenization investment or one of the derivative products that as long as they're packaged properly, and as I mentioned earlier, kind of that the client is looked after by the project or the distributor, then it's good news. And traditional finance can certainly leverage that to find more business, more liquidity for some of the stuff that's going on. So
there's so much I would love to talk about. I know we have so little time, so I'll hand it over to Luke. But thank you, James.
Yeah, I think I just wanted to also your opinion as we maybe as you lead on to talk about some of the staking options and some of the things like DMAS you guys are bringing out at UniZen. Do you think a lot of the attention from like the traditional space into crypto is from some of these yields and returns? And do you think perhaps it's a bit of a perhaps an investment strategy for them, but they're just a bit too hesitant to get in? Do you, because I mean, we can all agree that, yields are pretty tight around the world at the moment. Everyone's looking for, a few extra points here and there. do you think that's a big factor of it as well, that these players are really hungry for something?
Yeah, I think that the DeFi APY is something that traditional finance looks on with a lot of excitement. And it comes back to that, what's the risk, what's the catch, and how do I guarantee I'm not facing a terrorist organization and helping them to somehow take money or wash money through the system.
Al Qaeda gives the best APY.
Yeah, well, it's, exactly. So, but yeah, I definitely, it's the yield is one thing, the volatility is another in some of the coins where they're more liquid, and then the technology. So there's at least three things that they're looking at.
Cool. So in terms of UniZen and what you guys are working on and product rollout, do you think you could just walk us through a few of the things you guys are working on and what you guys are looking to do in the future, perhaps?
Sure. So if I start kind of UniZen, and it wasn't me that named it; it was someone a little bit more creative than me. But what it stands for really is like unified, so unified gateway, through which traditional financial market participants, people like me, people like my mom, who are interested in crypto, but things are just a little bit too complex, can come through, and the Zen bit is they can do it with confidence and calm. It's a bit cheesy, but I think it works.
Yeah.
You like it? Okay, it's good.
I do. I love it.
My mum likes it as well, so I haven't got a trading yet, but that's the philosophy, and then the system will evolve and grow, and it is agnostic. I know you guys probably on the call know, but for other people out there, the key I guess ingredient and kind of the most interesting part, at least at the beginning, is the fact that there's a secured use of Binance Cloud. So I think we're one of only a few people out there that have the ability to expose that to the end user. So I haven't checked the latest volumes, and but I know that Binance seems to me by far the most liquid, the most volume going through it, which obviously is super important if you're trying to trade any meaningful amount.
Intermixed with the likes of DeFi protocols, where you can layer in between the C and the DeFi.
Yeah, exactly. And Ghost, you went on earlier, but I mentioned, I think the first time I tried to use Uniswap, or and just I got in a real tangle, and also slightly concerned that I might go to the wrong website and collect my wallet and give away information I'm not meant to. So I think that the fact that UniZen from the outset is trying to take some of those complicated, or not complicated, but some of those hops away and ensure that you're anchored to the right venue, is for me is the right thing to do, and it's
critical.
Yeah. Look, there'll always be people that want to go and they'll write their own API and they'll design an aggregator, and fine, but that's they're not the people we're necessarily trying to help on the execution piece, at least on the trading piece of it. So that's kind of the start. Will be some DeFi modules, the exchange, and I guess what the other bits you're particularly interested in, Luke? I can go through a few of them. We've got a lot of dynamic. They may be renamed, but they're all dynamic at the moment. But I can go through the Ds.
So we've got the dynamic multi-asset staking, right?
Okay.
DMAS. Yep. And we've got dynamic yield saving accounts, DISA.
Yep.
DISA?
DISA, yeah. It's a bit like an ISA, isn't it?
I know. So talk about that.
A little bit better in terms of yield. So dynamic multi-asset staking. Now, I hate to say that it's unique, but I've looked around. I haven't seen many offering or any offerings that allow there's similar things out there, but nothing's quite the same. And the reason it appeals to me is because basically users, they can come on, if they have or they purchase some of the utility token for the exchange, which is ZCX, they can then stake that, and then it will effectively sit and over time get rewards, in the shape of other utility tokens. And
how are these other utility tokens acquired?
So it's a combination of there'll be some kind of, I guess, projects that we list. So we another part which I can talk about, which is ZenX Labs, that we will effectively incubate and or accelerate and launch. And there's I have to say that there's obviously there's a core team that you can see on the website. And then there's the advisors, but then there's a whole bunch of people behind that doing a hell of a lot of hard work. So, but yeah, from ensuring that the community are up to date, through to actually hard coding some of the smart contracts and stuff like that. But yeah, so that there can be some projects that effectively will, as a part of their fee to UniZen or Zen Labs, will push in some tokens. And then, as I mentioned before, this is about the community. We want the community to participate in them. I part of my dabbling, I've tried to get in on some of the launch pads and stuff like that. And quite a lot of time come away a bit disappointed, very confusing projects I don't have enough information about, and so on. So take it from me, there's a decent pipeline. I mean, Cirrus Foundation has been announced, that's coming soon, so that will be one of the tokens that you can earn through staking. And there's a bunch more kind of really, really exciting ideas out there, from and I said, Cirrus is interesting. If you guys haven't seen it, it's a hardware, I guess, firewall that then enables you to monetize your data. And I think we'll see exciting projects that come from I guess that sort of, the way I see it, there's four main areas. Like video gaming is a huge one, supply chain management, data privacy, which is the Cirrus, and then digital ID and self-sovereignty, those kind of topics. Those are what for me feel pretty hot right now in the kind of blockchain space. And so projects like Cirrus, similar to Cirrus in different areas, will come through. They'll be vetted, they'll be promoted and launched. And as a Z6 holder, you'll get first dibs on those, depending on your staking. There are also other things going on. I think the team run nodes, and also we'll probably attract some airdrops as well from other projects launching. So there's various different sources of the token or tokens that can come down to the staker. So that's a high level, DMAS, and that should be coming. I'm probably going to overpromise because I'm more on the sales side, but it should be in the next couple of weeks or so. Should land. So yeah.
So the last I heard was you're working through some audits and some legal stuff at the moment. So it's ready to go, right?
It's ready to go. I've seen it and earning some rewards in our test net. But yeah, the audits are super important because we as I mentioned before, it's the due diligence and our responsibility really to make sure that things don't go wrong. Things go wrong, but it's nothing major. So yeah, the first audit's been done. I believe some of that has been shared to the community, and the second one is due very soon. So yeah, I would say fingers crossed. Nothing, in the next couple of weeks we should see something go live, which is really, really exciting.
ZCX seems like it has a ton of utility potential with this dynamic multi-asset staking utility
Yeah.
for its coin, and especially when you consider that like when you interweave DeFi with CeFi, this sort of CeFi based privilege that the likes of like June Capital and UniZen and ZenX Labs and all these different individuals have accumulated. When you layer that also onto the ability for yield generation from the staking of ZCX in such protocols like Uniswap, right, for liquidity,
Mm-hmm.
like that would be that's such an interesting platform you can build from there, because you have the basic utility that these DeFi protocols that, like you were saying, all these centralized institutions are excited about, and then you can layer on, here are the access to these this whole ecosystem of different verticals, like you're saying, physical devices, self-sovereign ID, supply chain dynamics, et cetera, et cetera. Like, it's just a really interesting utility proposition. And then you have the ability on top of it to be partnered with Quant Network and have native interoperability between different chains and different projects that you're featuring. I mean, the whole thing just becomes a whole, like a wonderful bouquet of of
Yeah,
unique
no,
utility.
and I I need to get closer to Quant, because what they're doing is very close to many of my contacts out there, and it's critical. That interoperability piece is key, really, for as well as the the KYC stuff, and we announced that Rashid's come on as an advisor recently.
Oh yeah, Alliance Block.
Yeah,
I mean, we could talk
yeah,
about Alliance Block for
yeah.
hours.
But and I watched their AMA with their new team members coming on, and they seem like a really good bunch of guys, and
They're a stand-up group for sure.
Yeah,
As a little I guess a little insider knowledge, I guess, we on the roundtable, Rashid and Amber and Matthias will be joining us for a future episode on the roundtable. So
Awesome.
we'll be hearing a lot more about Alliance Block in the future. And I would even, this is just now me, my spinning my brains. I would like to have a UniZen and Alliance Block and Quant roundtable where we get a bunch of the guys from each team and have a nice old discussion about CDFi. I think that would be brilliant.
Yeah. No, I think that'd be super exciting. But no, I mean, like, it's I'll just go. I didn't mention this earlier, but one of the things that we're trying to do is we're trying to solve problems that are here and now, real problems for people. Push out minimum viable product, or a viable product. And we all talk, and internally there's lots of blue sky thinking as well, but we kind of always reel it back in, because I've seen too many projects get distracted by a hypothetical problem is going to be there in 5 years' time, when there are actually these fairly simple on the face of it problems to solve, and someone trying to get the best APY, or someone trying to get access to new projects. How do they do that, and how they do it in a fair way? And that's the path that we're on at the moment. And the Dicer piece, that was something that came up as part of the, I guess, the liquidity management, the protection of the business and the stakeholders. We hit the bear market and realized that a big release of coin wouldn't necessarily be helpful to anybody. But at the same time, people would want to get some utility out of what is theirs. So Dicer, dynamic yield staking account or savings account, was kind of imagined and designed, and this is going to give people the ability to effectively earn yield on stable coins and so on. So it's it's kind of what as I understand it, and this is, if it is a bear market, this is my first bear market, but people want to people want to move. Actually, no, it's not really, is it? 'Cause I got burned last time, but anyway. But no, people want to find a safe place. So yeah, we would hope that UniZen would be that safe place. As I said, we're community driven, community led. None of this was done in a vacuum. The user groups were spoken to and reached out to, and we don't have the DAO operational yet, but that would have been a great use of it. But yeah, that's coming, following down the line. I think probably after DMAS, the Binance Cloud or UniZen and potentially Uniswap are the next to come along.
James, with regard to Binance, do you have any comments about the recent regulatory difficulties, such as with the UK, Hong Kong, and there was someone else, but does anyone else recall? Singapore? Was it Singapore too?
Mm-hmm. Thailand, Singapore, yeah.
Wow.
Ontario, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a big issue for them going forward?
We, as I said before, we're kind of agnostic. Binance is our first choice because it would be the first choice of anyone coming on looking for a centralized exchange, and the ability to list our own coins in a cloud environment and with the combined liquidity is super attractive. Having said that, we did have conversations with others, and there are others in the pipeline. So,
awesome.
I hope, and Binance, super smart guys, a lot of resources. They've hired into the compliance and regulatory sort of areas now.
And the fastest company to ever become a unicorn.
Right. Yeah. So, no one really knows, and they're very tight and secretive and protective. But no, I suspect that they will sort things out. But yeah, we don't know if the regulators come down, with a very blunt axe and try and stop everything. I mean, that will be interesting. I mean, you've seen Shapeshift, as it recently go moving to fully automated.
Mm-hmm.
So
very interesting.
Yeah.
Go to a whole foundation and decentralize whatever they can the first go around. And keep everything that needs human input at first in the foundation. It definitely is a proactive move.
It's proactive. It's quite punchy. But I think the issue is that and this is part of the centralized / decentralized approach. Current regulations rely on regulating a company or an individual or individuals. They don't look at protocols in that way, and not just in blockchains and crypto. Outside of that, if you look at any autonomous plans, it could be cars. How do you regulate self-driving cars? If it crashes into somebody and causes some damage, who's being sued? Is it the manufacturer? Is it the AI? Is it the pro?
Elon Musk.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah. He's not very popular, is he? I didn't realize how unpopular he was within the space. So
he was popular, and then
okay.
overnight became unpopular.
Well, you can change from famous to infamous very quickly.
True.
Yes.
True.
So James,
go
on. Finish your thought. Go on.
I would say that there's one more D. Two more Ds. Just quickly, you've got dynamic social sentiment indicators, which are pretty cool. We're not giving any advice and trade recommendations, but it will help you zoom in on I guess tokens or coins that are moving around a bit and give you some idea of what's hot, what's not, and where they are relative to historical prices and so on. So that will help. I think sort of some of the basic, more novice traders that aren't aware of other tools to use. And then the one piece I should have mentioned already is the aggregation piece, which which I think Ghost you alluded to, which you can plug something in, hit some asset you're interested to swap into or to buy, hit find, and it will go across and look and compare gas fees and price and other factors as we build it out, like reliability of fill and all kinds of other things, which will be
That's pretty awesome.
that will be useful.
Powerful for the user. I mean, a lot of users, you don't have this information available for you.
Absolutely, and it's as I understand from the technologists, quite a few people out there have aggregated APIs, which is fine, but you don't capture the full functionality, you don't capture the full liquidity. So I think as long as you're not like a high frequency trader, if you're more an investor trader, sort of short to medium term rather than high frequency, then the actual aggregation of the native UI is going to be quite useful for you. So anyway, so that's all the D's. I think
for now.
We'll bring some more. We'll bring more.
Keep it dynamic. You got to keep it coming.
Absolutely.
So James, it sounds like we could talk for hours and hours more, but I know you have to go, mate. I guess another show in the future would probably be ideal when you're not 6 weeks in and you got a bit more under your belt.
Mm-hmm. Your feet.
Yeah.
But
that's good.
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, thanks for coming on, man. I mean, we wanted to start with a bang. And I feel like getting you on was definitely the right choice. Absolutely top bloke, and it's been great. And I think we'll
really
do it
good
again
to
in the
talk to
future.
you. Yeah, I'm more than happy. And yeah, the try meeting of minds with Rashid and Quant would be awesome if that's something we could do. Yeah, really, really good.
We'll make it happen. Sure.
Cool, guys.
Okay.
Brilliant.
Awesome. So let it be written. So let it be done.
Exactly. Okay, guys.
So thanks everyone for listening. It was a great discussion, and so we said on a previous, I can't even remember where we said it now. There's been so many different recordings, but we wanted to start off strong, hence having James on, and we have so much in the pipeline going forward. And you heard a little bit there on the recording with Rashid and Amber and Matthias from Alliance Block, and just by looking at our backgrounds, myself, Ghost, Luke, you can kind of get an idea of the kind of projects we would like to talk to, and the kind of projects that will feature on the roundtable. So anything you guys want to say before we shut this down?
It's just a big thank you, really, for me. Without you guys, there would be no show, no purpose. And so yeah, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you get involved in our socials, in our chat rooms, and yeah, just thank you.
Yeah, so I'll list our socials. I'll list our socials first, and then I'll let Ghost close the show. So we have at Roundtable Crypto on YouTube. We have at ___ table on Twitter, and we have Roundtable TG for Telegram. So make sure you get involved in the Telegram group. We're in there every single day, talking with you guys, having a conversation, discussing all the happenings going on in the industry. And also every Tuesday, me and Luke will be recording. We'll be putting out the wrap up. So we'll be talking about the news events, and Ghost will show up every once in a while as well. And we'll talk about all the latest happenings going on in the industry. So look forward to that. Every Tuesday, every Friday, a new video for you guys. So get involved in the community. We're going to build something really great. So Ghost, take us up.
Yeah, I just want to echo what Dread and Luke have been saying, and just thank you all for listening. You're really so wonderful, and I truly believe that our community is already something unique that isn't really seen elsewhere in the crypto community. Something that tries to, we all may come from many different ways of life, high, low, degen, sophisticated, it doesn't matter, but to come to a common place of understanding and to just like open discussion about what's really going on in the world, whether it's crypto or otherwise. That's just the name of the game, and it's an absolute pleasure for just to be a part of this with everyone who's involved. So y'all take it easy. As always, stay quamfy, and we'll see you next time.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.